Well, good morning. All right, let's try that one more time. Again, happy Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday. Good morning. It's great to see each and every one of you. Welcome to day 2 of New Educator Orientation. It is my extreme pleasure and honor to be with you on this day. As I look around the room, I kind of think back to my first day of education. I'll be honest, I was real nervous because I was like, man, they're putting me in charge of young people. But needless to say, there were a lot of great folks that rallied around me that were mentors that I still use to this day. And I just want to impress upon you just a few things before we jump into the meat and potatoes of today's work. Is this: the seat that you sit in is an amazing seat to be in. But more important than the seat that we sit in are where our feet happen to land. The feet that you have right now are going to be all over the county. But it's also furthering an idea, a courageousness, a boldness to do something different. Decades ago, some odd years, there were a small group of individuals that wanted to figure out where to place their feet to better their children, their community. That charge, that courageousness, started Special School District with 4 teachers, 1 social worker, and 144 young people. Now, as you can imagine, Special School District encompasses close to 6,000 teachers and staff all across the county. And again, we're just a movement of feet that started decades ago. And so now here we sit. Not only are we serving 24,000 plus young people with 4,000 plus staff, we're all over the county. And so when I get asked the question, Dr. Williams, what do you like most about your role and position in the district, being with Special School District? And I will say is this: I get to be anywhere and everywhere all at the same time. Working with the same young people, regardless of where they are. Working within communities, no matter where they may be. Or working with individuals, regardless of experience, because the chief goal for all of us is to elevate the opportunities of each and every young person. So please do me a favor, give yourselves a round of applause for this work. So again, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for being, in the place to be, in this space. My name is Dr. Darrell Diggs. I am the executive director of, here we go, long title, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. Means a lot. Can be a couple letters, but what's most important for me and my team in this work is that we help elevate and change the game, not only for students, because that's important, but also for staff members. What can we do to improve working conditions, to foster deeper relationships? What can we do to provide better and more impactful service all across our county? So that's our chief responsibility as a department, is to not only empower this great work that all of us are tasked with, but to also advocate for the needs of both our young people and also our adults. So again, do me a favor, give yourselves one more round of applause, please. So just to forewarn you, for those of you that may not know, I do walk around a lot. I tend to use my hands and my fingers, so hopefully I don't tap or hit anyone. But I would like for you to lean in a little bit. I'm going to ask for you to engage. We will be moving a little up and about. We'll be connecting with one another. So having said that, up front on the screen, you're going to see different ways for us to connect. Please take pictures. Let's continue this conversation well beyond just here in the space at North Technical High School. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, please give another round of applause to the TLA group along the side of the room. I appreciate their bold leadership and also allowing us to do this in this space. For those of you that may have also met Mr. Emmanuel Young, the principal of North Tech High School, amazing young man. So hopefully you'll want to connect and be with him as well. So team, here we go. I tend to start a lot of our conversations with quotes or an idea. So I'd like to start with this one from none other than Ira Wells. The way to right wrongs is to turn light of truth upon them. Let me say that one more time. The way to right wrongs. want that to sit just a moment. The way to right wrongs, you must shine light upon it. What I have found through my travelings, through quotes, through particular sermons, through book, through literature, is that the word light resonates in many of our prolific civil rights leaders. Because they know in order for us to do the deep work and to move forward with forward progress, we have to shine light. And so today, I would like to share with you how we shine that light as a district, how you can shine that light as a staff member, and how we can empower our young people to also shine that light as well. So team, here we go. What I'm going to ask you to do with a piece of paper, maybe a napkin of sorts, something to write with, I would like for you to process this question. What I would like for you to do is to imagine a classroom where every student feels seen, heard, and empowered to reach their full potential. I would like for you to imagine this space where every young person feels seen, heard, and empowered. Imagine this. Now, here's the question I would like you to process with me. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? I can only give about 4 to 6 seconds for this, if you don't mind. So please, let's process this. Jot your thoughts down on this paper, your partner's hand. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? See, heard, and not. Our team, by another 20 seconds. What does this look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? To be able to walk into the space where young people are seen, heard, and empowered. Process that by another 20 seconds. All right, let's find the end of that sentence. Let's land and find the period of that. All right, team, do me a favor. With what you wrote down, I know it's profound. I know it really is. So with what you wrote on your sheet, I would like you to connect with the person next to you, so your shoulder partner. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, Dr. Days, well, who's going to go first? Don't worry, I'll take care of it for you. I would like for the individual with the lightest colored hair to go first. So let's try to decide what that may be. Person with the lightest colored hair, go. All right, beautiful. All right, let's come back together. All right, so team, come out. As I was ear hustling, I was walking the room, eavesdropping on conversations. I heard a lot about care. Raise your hand if you wrote care on your piece of paper. Thank you. Welcoming environment. Raise your hand if you wrote that down. Nice. All right. How many of you wrote down something to the effect of student voice? Yeah, and that. So team, this is going to be the driving question that's going to guide us as we have these conversations today, right? As we process what our environment looks like, as we think about our classrooms, the schoolhouse, the moment the young person jumps on the school bus, to the moment that they get back on the bus to get back to their place of residence, all of this is a space where young people can learn, where young people can grow, and also connect with one another. There's always a space where young people are learning something. True? And so with this prompt, with this question, I just want us to just take a moment to really process deeply. You know what? Young people are feeling their environment. They're hearing their environment. They're seeing their environment. And so to be able to create an environment where they are their full self, somebody said authentic. Raise your hand if you put authentic. This is valuable. So let's dive a little bit deeper on where we're going today. So first, I would like for us to explore the interconnectedness of factors that shape our perspective. So we're going to jump into that word today. I want us to explore as if we're trying to find gold, right? The next thing that we're going to do together is this. We're going to dissect how the special school district has put together a framework to address complex factors. And I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. And then last but not least, as we get into the work, is that we're going to move from a space where we are aware of an equity, like, yeah, there's an equity over there somewhere. And I want us to get to a place where we're digging deep and we're concrete on actions to mitigate those inequities. So those three things are going to drive our work today. So team, here we go. There will be moments throughout our short time together where I'll have you guys move up, move around, connect with other people from all across the room. So I need people to help us come right back together. All right. So the first is this. If you know me, I use this often. I borrowed this from the educational equity consultants. And it is this: call and response. Where I'll say waterfall, waterfall, and the response is really calm. Shh. Let's practice. Let's say we're all moving around, things are being thrown. Hopefully nobody's getting hurt. And I say waterfall, waterfall. Right place. Right place. All right. So now there will be a time where I don't use that, and I may just raise my hand. And I would like for you all to mimic my response. All right, so it'll look just like that. I'll raise my hand. Cool. Nice. And then here's the other one. In this last one that I'm going to share with you is another call and response. And it comes from my oldest son, Trace. Trace, I'm going to be with some a group of teachers, new educators. I need a way to bring people back together. He's really into soccer, so sometimes his coach does things to kind of bring his focus back into attention. And so gave me this idea. So if I say flat tire, we're just going to. I'm like, Trace, really? He's like, Dad, it's going to be a winner. I'm like, he's 10 years old. All right, so team, here we go. Let's process. Let's talk about perspective. So this is going to be the foundation of our conversation. Perspective. The power of this word perspective is that it has many different meanings, but it all points us into the same direction. So my great friends at Merriam-Webster, they define perspective as such, a mental view or prospect. They also define it in a way where it's an interrelation in which its subject or its parts are mentally viewed. Okay? Let's just say, for this example, there's about 200 people in this room. All 200 of us may have a different perspective of the same event, view of something, or experience, even though we're all in the same space. So here's an example. When I was a principal at a middle school, the students came to me about an issue, major issue. And I'm invited, hey, let's talk about it, what is it? Let me hear what's going middle school, the issue was the dress code. I already knew how it goes. We are really on top of this, so anyway. What made this conversation amazing about the dress code is that the students had a perspective, the teachers and staff had a perspective, administration had a perspective, and the community had a perspective. All four of those groups did not share the same perspectives. Is that fair? All right, here's another example. Let's say there's some type of massive technology advancement. Something amazing is going to happen, right? Maybe let's call it a social media platform, a new one. Young people are going to have a perspective. The adults in the space that has to manage whatever happens out of that is going to have a perspective. The community is going to have a perspective. Today on my way in, I was listening to the news and they were talking about how through the Senate, they were able to pass a law to where social media companies have to put in guardrails around the influence that their platform has on young people. They have a perspective. Tech giants have a perspective. And again, it's all around the same thing, technology and social media. Are you also with me? All right. If I were to put a big monument right here in the middle of the room, depending on where you are in this space, your view of this monument is going to lend itself to a different perspective. And so with this perspective, I need for you to grab a piece of paper at your table. Looks just like this. Grab this one. Grab this. Everybody needs one. Let me know.
Right. Here we go. These are so pretty.
All right, we're good. All right, team. With this piece of paper, you're going to notice that there are these circles around the middle. Right, that's probably either my circles. In the middle of your diagram, I would like you to write the word perspective. In the middle of all those circles, write the word perspective. After you have written the word perspective, now you have circles around the word perspective. And those circles, I would like you to label them as such. Cultural background will be one circle. The next will be family upbringing. The third will be education. And then just go all the way around, knocking out all your circles. And by the time you get done, there may be one circle that's blank, but that's okay. You have gone all the way around the circle, there will be one that's blank. That's okay. Again, let's recap. In the middle of that diagram, the word perspective. Around the edges, you have cultural background, family upbringing, third, education, socioeconomic status. That's in a circle. Traumatic events. That's in a circle. Followed by political affiliation, and then religious beliefs. 2 more seconds. All right, team, are we ready? Good. All right, probably what's going to happen in that last circle? I know that might be some anxiety for folks. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Put high school.
You're from Missouri.
That would be a dissertation all by itself. And then in that circle that's blank, write the word history with 2 words. All right, so team, here we go. So with this diagram that you created, we have created a diagram that's going to help us understand the complexity of perspectives. Everything around that circle has a push or a pull on what's in the middle. What's in the middle is your perspective. And so the next piece is this. I want you to draw a line from the circle that says cultural background. Draw that line from cultural background to the middle. From the circle with cultural background, draw a line from there to the middle. And then label it number 1. Label that number 1. For the next few minutes, individually, what I would like for you to do is that we're going to continue this activity and we're going to look for number 2, look for number 3, look for number 4. And so what that looks like is number 1, you're going to connect another factor from outside of your perspective, and I want you to connect that to your perspective. Again, you're going in order of most influential. So if cultural background is number 1 to be most influential to perspective, what would be number 2? What would be number 3? So on and so forth. Now, teaching practices says this. Are there any questions? You've just done number 1. Now, I would like for you to go around that circle for what you believe has the greatest influence after that. Go number 2, number 3, number 4, all the way to the end. All right, go.
We're talking about St. Louis, and this is in Louisville High School. That's the first thing they asked you. Number 4. Okay, so 9 minutes.
Our team, as you're processing through that, again, perspectives in the middle, you already landed with number 1, that has the greatest influence on your perspective, that was cultural background. Now we're going to number 2, second greatest influence, third greatest influence, 4th, so on and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, if you're seeing that there's other connections between the factors, feel free to draw a line there too. Right? This is your sheet. All right. Again, in the interest of time, we'll give about another 60 seconds. And take your time. If you see other connections, draw those lines and connect those pieces. Continue with the numbers. All right, here we go. Another 15 seconds. Let's try to make those connections. Do the labeling. All right, team, here we go. Do me a favor, take a deep, long look at what you put together. Take a deep, long look at your sheet. I'd like for you to mentally to yourself review what you put together. Look at the order, right? Look at your number 2. Look at the last number that you've placed. Look at all those factors. Now, broadly speaking, what we just participated in is an activity to really look at what broadly shapes our perspective. We just have to put numbers to it. Okay? So here we go. What I would like for you to do is to grab your paper, 2 hands. I would like and stood up, connect with one other person, not at your table, and then I'll give you the next instructions. Go. Oh, amazing. So at this moment, you have connected with one other person. Now you're partying two. I'm going to stretch us a little bit. Are you ready? I would like for pairs to pair. Make yourself a group of 4. Go. Real quick, true story. I was, when I was a younger man, I saved up all my money to buy a car. Because dad was like, hey man, listen, go out, go work, save some money, go buy something that's reliable. So I went out and I bought a, what was it? 1993 Cadillac DeVille. I loved it. The car was long, it was powder blue, had the leather all over the place. And then one thing happened after another. Maybe it was leather, not really sure. Transmission went out, tires blew up on the highway. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. And so the tire deflating sound, I'm very familiar with. 93 Cadillac, I'm very familiar with. So now this is what we're going to do. Now that you're in your group of 4, each of you have your sheets. Again, the numbers broadly speak to what shapes our perspective. What I would like for you to do at this moment is just have an open conversation, right? What's your number 1, number 2? Well, actually, you know what number 1 is. Let's talk about 2 through 4, right? All the way to the end of the numbers. And you probably think, again, who's going to go first? So as you're sharing and talking broadly about your piece of paper, the person that's going to go first is the individual that's closest to the ceiling. So let's find out who that is. Wow. Beautiful, thank you. While stay where you are for just a moment. What we just participated in is a connection between groups of people on how we broadly have our perspectives shaped. Right? Yes, everyone in across the room, I placed you all with number one for cultural background. Right? I did that. I purposely said, hey, number one, write this down. Cultural background. Now, whatever number two may be, or 3 or 4 or 5, all the way to 8, if not more, vastly different in that order all across the room. True. Now, some groups, raise your hand if this is you, some groups felt that there's so many factors around the circle, they're like interwoven, they're almost like one and the same. Raise your hand if that's you. All right. Beautiful, thank you. Nice down. Well, let's be honest. Let's be really, really honest. Everything that's in that circle that you wrote down, and also how you connected them with all of the numbers, each of those is a push and a pull. A push and a pull. A leaning towards or leaning away. Broadly speaking, that's called bias. Whatever the issue may be, we are operating from a framework of all of these factors either pushing us or pulling us away or towards something, whatever that may be. Okay? For example, in my family upbringing, I don't know what it was with me as a young person, I always ate my rice ketchup on top of it. Right? For some reason, that was my thing. Hey, give me the rice, doesn't matter if it's sticky or not, give me the ketchup. Like, douse it in pockets. Like, that was my thing. In this really, really small, rudimentary example, that has shaped my upbringing to where I don't even like thinking about them in the same sense. No, I can do that. Right? It's not a thing now. Again, small example. Now, let's broaden that just a little bit. We either grew up in all variety of spaces, whether it's suburban, urban, rural, city, wherever we may have come from, right? Whatever city and state we may have come from, that environment has programmed us in a way to now we have this leaning for and against, again, all types of things. For example, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, love it to death. But if you were to ask me how long have I lived in St. Louis, I would say, honestly, for the majority of my life, but I call Memphis, Tennessee home. That's what I call home, even though I've lived here for a long time. The reason why I call it home is because that particular place of space has a very significant push and pull on who I am as a person. I can't shake it, but I have to learn how to manage it. Right? So as you're looking at your piece of paper and what's around it, you are also managing what's around those spaces because it pushes and pulls in your perspective. Right? See how I brought that back together? Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. Everything around your piece of paper, regardless of the number that you put on it, has a push and pull on systems, practices, and policies that connect with kids and also the workforce. And so through our equity department, also through the SSD equity framework, that's how we manage and work through perspectives or differences. Dr. Martin Luther King said it best. It is on us to be molders of consensus, right? Molders of us coming together, molders of us leading closer together. So let's do this. First of all, thank your group mates and head back to your seat. Thank you. All right, thank you for that. So team, everything on your piece of paper is highly complex, highly interconnected. And so what I'm imploring all of us to really think about that process is that, you know what, these interconnected influences, they definitely mold how we approach our work with young people, our connectedness with staff, and also equity. Right? Now, the Route Special School District, we have done some phenomenal work, and I'm excited to have you all join this work. But I would like to accentuate what we believe happens, or how we know when educational equity exists. Right? How do we know that equity is in the space in our work, again, with staff and also with children? And so this is really small for those in the back, but we know that educational equity exists when each student has an opportunity to access the resources that focuses on quite a few different things. Are you ready? One of those is a positive learning environment. The second of which is an intentional focus on purposeful engagement. The next piece, rigorous and individualized instruction. And then last but not least, a relevant experience. Now, if you remember back to the beginning when I asked you all to think about an educational space where kids feel seen, heard, empowered to do great work, well, we believe that if we can achieve that, it looks like this. Right? We talk about all young people, but if we talk about each, then we're really getting to the gifts of every young person in our places and spaces. And so how do we do all that work? Well, through the architects of the equity framework, great leaders over the past several years, they put together a document that is focused on one huge and amazing equity statement. 3 essential questions, 8 guided, and 23 collective actions. Right? So what we know about achieving educational equity from what we just looked at and read, it requires us to be bold in how we look at equity, and also how we drive that work through the questions that we're asking. And so let's talk about the road and the path to equity. What does that look like? How does that resemble? So it looks like this. Through equity, many of us are familiar with icebergs, above the waterline, below the waterline. And so I just want to give it a little bit of sauce by that. When it comes to achieving educational equity, we must understand what it looks like to be surface level, and then also what it looks like to be deep in this work. If we're above the surface, this is casual behaviors. So for example, we can talk about welcoming environments, but then again, unless we're able to ask some deeper questions, how are we interacting and behaving and welcoming each other to a space where everybody's voice is welcome, heard, right? And then actively listened to bring them into this great work. But in order to go deep, you have to really live here. We have to live in the policies, look at our structures, our procedures, right? We talked about bias a moment ago, all right? Systems. Again, if you look back at your piece of paper, your perspective is driven by all of those factors all the way around you. All of those factors impact policy, structures, beliefs, motives. All these pieces connect and touch kids. And so going back to our path to equity, I just want to give you this really quick overview as we're running low on time. So please know this. In 2011, there were some bold and brave leaders that wanted to really understand, hey, how can we be equitable across the county when it comes to resources, staffing, best meet the needs of all of our partners, right? Obviously all across this room. And so in 2011, I just want to look at my notes because I don't want to miss this up. But what happened at that time, 2011, is that they wanted to go to a really deep dive and focus on 2 pieces. 1, the workforce, and 2, leadership. After that 2011 task force, we went into a really deep equity study, wanting to understand, hey, what does it look like to be equitable when it comes to teacher preparation, our services, CTE, and also how we produce and manage contracting and purchasing. And then from there, we're like, hey, we got some really great momentum happening here. What would it look like to take the next step? So again, the superintendent and the school board did some phenomenal work and put together the CAPRS report. And then this report came massive recommendations for us to really move the needle to impact kids and the workforce all across the county, specifically within SSD. So what did that look like? that look like a really massive document, which we call a blueprint. That how do we do it? And so, in order for us to go from 2011 to 2018, it takes the intentionality to put this work, the recommendations, into policy and practice, into our strategic plans, into our CC. An administrator who I used to work with long time ago, he would say, hey, what gets measured gets done. How many of you have heard that before? So in order for us to do this work, to go below the waterline, to get structures, biases, motives, and thoughts, we have to put it in, weave it in somewhere to where we know when we've achieved educational equity for all of the children and our staff. So from there, the blueprint. Dr. Macklin and his leadership, you all met him yesterday. Him and a phenomenal team of folks got together and created the equity framework, a 5-year plan. I'll give you a little bit of information about that in just a moment. And then in 2022, the Public Review Committee said, like, hey, with this work, with this plan, these recommendations, as they're woven into our strategic review, now how can we connect this deeper into our partner school districts, right? So Dr. McRiddle, Dr. Gates, and also Dr. Lynn, that's what they're working on and furthering that mission for us. So you see this last tab, 2024, 2025. This is you. We need your help to continue this work. We need your help to, yes, understand where your perspective is, but then also know that our children have a perspective. Our colleagues have a perspective. And so what does that look like to bring the two together? And so team, my colleagues in this work, Dr. Chambers and also Mr. Loyo, we'll see them in just a moment, we were able to put together a professional learning plan based off of the equity framework. And so what does that look like? That looks like a 5-year plan for us to really dive into some themes. Last year, year 4, our theme was bias, right? How does our unconscious bias impact our work? Also, the year before that, year 3, we focused on diversity and culture. All right, I spoke a little bit about that today. Now, this year, year 5, is really about taking all that learning and putting it into practice, right? Putting it into our systems and processes in the classroom, in the workspace. And so there's a wide variety of courses that we offer in this environment. You'll get a copy of this a little bit later today. It's not already linked for you. This is what we talk about. This is what we help people try to form a deeper understanding of some really big topics. So for example, intersectionality, talk about culture, talk about diversity and how to be a mentor for someone with someone and may not look like you, right? With a staff of over 6,000 people, we have a wide variety of connection with each other and into the space. And so team, here we go. I'm gonna land the plane in just a moment. Let's process this together. If the equity principles, so turn to the back of your piece of paper. Turn to the back of your piece of paper. These are the 8 equity principles that we use as a district through the framework to drive equity for reaching each and every child. So take a peek at that for just a moment. These are the 8 equity principles. Take a peek at that for just a moment. Now, team, as you're processing through that, I'm going to give a really brief overview. Look at number 1. The special school district is committed to ensuring equity in all policy, process, procedures, and operating practices. Number 2, committed to providing leadership. 3, SSD will recognize and intentionally recruit and engage all members of school communities. 4, advocate for curriculum, learning materials, and school practices. 5, provide appropriate bias-free assessment. 6, equitable programming. 7, equitable counseling, related service, support service that reflect the principles of equity. And then 8, professional learning. It would be tough to do this work if we haven't been exposed or trained or made aware of. And so that's a big piece of this equity framework. So team, you see that eight, those eight? At your table, do me a huge solid. If the equity principles, any of those eight, were to not exist, what would be the anticipated impact on students and staff? If any one of these eight equity principles were not present, did not exist, what would be the impact on the community, our county, our young people, our staff? Connect at your table. Go. All right, team, thank you for the courageous and really honest conversations that we're having. But I would like for us to raise our voices in the room if we can. All right. Now, again, I asked the question for all of us to process this together. Like, hey, what would happen? What would be the anticipated outcomes if in which any one or all of these principles, equity principles that are on the back of the sheet, were not in play? Is there a brave person in the room just to share maybe something, thoughts and conversation?
Students can feel actually welcome in school anymore. Like they feel like they'll get some like bullying happening to them.
So you're saying young people would definitely feel bullying, possibly the prevalence of ongoing traumatic experiences if the principals were not in the place and space? Thank you for going first. All right, we're gonna go here, then that way.
I think it'd be unrest or uncomfortable and being on edge and separation.
Thank you. The big piece that I grabbed is like, hey, this probably would not allow us to come together as we should, right? As a community and an organizing body of educators, if these were not in place. Thank you. All right, Becky.
I was talking about that if any of these disappeared, our whole system would fall apart and then we wouldn't be doing what's best for the kids because it does start at the top and go down and then back up. So the entire system would fall apart and then we wouldn't be providing an equitable education for our students.
It's nice to meet you. All right, team, yes? Right? For those of you that know, amen? Now, team, let's land the plane. I need for us to go back to the beginning. Again, imagine that classroom. If you notice, I changed the sentence just a little bit. Imagine a classroom. Imagine a workplace for every student. I put in parentheses, staff member. And again, you can finish that sentence. I asked the question, hey, what would happen if these were to go away, disappear, get kicked down the road? Would we be where we need to be? Now, to be truthfully honest, I had this conversation a hot second ago. Equity work is hard. It takes a great deal of energy. It takes a willingness to lean in, but again, a lot of that is keeping perspective, right, on how we're connecting to equity. Some may believe in some places and spaces, definitely not in education, that the word equity is divisive. Some believe that the word equity is problematic. But what I can say is that when we're able to truly achieve and work towards educational equity for each and every student, to have the greatest opportunity at their greatest potential and success, we would like to think that it looks like this. You know what this is, right? What is this? All right. But can I be honest? Equity work is like this. It truly is. So, team, having said that, within the equity department, DEIA department, our mission is to do two things. Very, very simple. It is to empower our leaders, empower each and every one of you to advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. What does that look like? At each of the SSD buildings, there is an equity team, right? We are deeply connected with you in that work as we're connecting with your leaders in that space. Across the county, we are deeply connected with leaders in those spaces. Some more than others. But see, here's the thing. In order for us to get to this, we have to be in the messy middle and work through this. If I think back to 2011, it really looked like this. When I think back to the start of the special school district, it really looked like this. Again, 4 teachers, 1 social worker, grab the superintendent, because the parents really wanted to advocate for something different. They felt that in their space, wherever they were living, that they weren't able to get adequate instruction, adequate support to meet the needs of their young people. And so what did they do? They were brave, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. And so, having said that, this is my team. If I had to just stand up real quick. So Dr. Chambers, please stand. She's our Director of Equity for Operations. An amazingly wealth of knowledge. So please, give her a moment. Every time I walk into Dr. Chambers' office, it's very calm. And she's like, tell me what's wrong. But then she's always ready with like, hey, have you thought about this? Now let's also think about who may be impacted or not if we decide to do nothing. Equity work takes courageous and brave leaders. So thank you, Dr. Chambers. Also, Mr. Jeremy Lowe, give him a round of applause. Also, Mr. Lowe has a really long history and resume, and I would definitely be cheating if I tried to rattle it off, but I will say this. Mr. Lowe comes from the East Coast, Portland, Oregon, and in the work in the seat that he sits in right now, he's also done a deep dive into that, where he came from. And so for us to have him part of our team, we are now better. And so I believe our district is better by having a team such as my team, Dr. Chambers and also Mr. Lowe. One more round of applause for him. She's got food right now, which is Ms. Deidre Davis. She's our executive assistant. She keeps the glue of all of us together. Definitely keeps me in line. I think Dr. Davis got to go. So, but also the logistics behind our work. And so, team, I will end with this quote. There's a book that I stumbled across not too long ago, and it's titled "The Boy Raised as a Dog." And in this book, there's a quote that I would like to share with you that I believe rings true to our journey today and also our journey throughout equity. And it is, I don't have all the answers, but I do think that understanding ourselves as social species with a brain that evolved with certain unique capacities and weaknesses, a brain that becomes what it practices, will allow us to at least ask the right questions. Although we have a perspective, although different things push and pull on our decisions, our ideas and our thoughts, always ask the right questions. Because that is the best place to start and obviously to build a loving, caring community. So team, if there's any thoughts after today, any questions or inklings or burning ideas, please feel free to connect with our team. We'll be here off and on today, also tomorrow. This is who we are, these are our numbers. So really, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for giving me your time. This one. Let's do this. We've been rocking for over an hour. Can we do like a stand up, sit down, and come back together in like 2-3 minutes? So I want to introduce someone to you. Sounds good? All right, so 2-3 minutes, let's come right back together. The spirit is leading me to do another one of those calling responses. Flat tire, flat tire. All right, good deal. Thank you for that. Continue, here we go. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. Number two, thank you for allowing me to be with you and have a deep conversation about equity, right? About connecting with each other, how we can best empower and advocate for this great work. But what I'm also really excited about is what's happening next. So all across the country, in every school district, almost in every school, there's this process where we try to honor those that are in our space for doing incredibly amazing things, right? And so we have the ability to hear from someone that's been nominated as the Special School District Teacher of the Year. But before I bring her out, there's a few things I would like for you to know. That way you're fully prepared for what you're about to receive. The person that I'm about to introduce, she has been in education for over 17 years. What's really amazing and important about this individual is that she graduated from West Tech. Those of you that know, West Tech isn't with us at this moment, so we have the North and South. But she graduated from a program, and then not only did she graduate from this space, now she's back giving to young people what she received during her time. So that's amazing, right? Giving back to communities. And so within our culinary arts department, she received the Donna Sophie Award, again, Teacher of the Year. Please give a hearty, warm welcome, loud, rousing applause for none other than Chef Nance.
Good morning, how's everyone? I was gonna say, we'll start out with, I know that my speech is between you and a break, so I better make it good. So you guys just got a break, so I got lots of time. Well, welcome. So, like Dr. said, I'm Melissa Manis. Most people just call me Chef Manis or Chef. So, a lot of the people in central office don't recognize me right now because I'm not a chef. So, just a few things we're gonna go through today. I'm just gonna introduce myself. I'm gonna give you a little professional development pep talk. Some of my favorite instructional strategies. Talk a little bit about the power of belief. I got a few book recommendations for you and some helpful hints to the successful school year. And at the end, we'll have a question and answer opportunity. So it's dangerous when they tell me you got 15 minutes, go ahead and do whatever you like. So that's what we do. Like we said, I've been the culinary arts instructor at Southside High School for 16 years now, and entering my 17th year. I've been in the culinary arts community for over 26 years now. So I did attend West Tech, so part of the special school district for culinary arts. So I'm a recipient of the wonderful programming that goes on in the special school district. Those of you that are in St. Louis, everybody wants to know what high school did you go to. So I graduated from South High School. I love hockey, so I always like to throw out a fun fact. That is my 5-year-old. She loves hockey just as much as I do. I'm hoping I don't kind of force her, stepping back, but I'm secretly loving it. So I also, that's my family. We just got back from Olympic National Park in Washington. So it's a great thing about being off for the summer to go and travel and do lots of fun things. So. All right, so let's talk a little bit about professional development. This is my 17th year. I'm going to sit through professional development. Some of it's, you get there and you're like, not again, not this. I don't want, this doesn't apply to me. Do yourself and do me a favor and challenge yourself to find something you can use. I've gone to so many professional developments where it's like, I'll sit next to somebody like, this doesn't apply. Make it apply. Take it and take something, anything. Some of my best ideas and some of my best programs that I have gotten recognition for have come from attending and or being observance for things that don't apply to me. So I'll take it and I'll be like, that, I can't use that in my classroom, but I can do this. I can mirror it and make it work for me. So when you go to professional development, any of them, try to take away something that is useful for you. Try to take something that is useful for your department, or even just useful in general, so that when you have a colleague that might be trying to get somewhere or do something, you're like, oh, you know what, I heard this, or let me help, this is what I know. So don't just shut down during the professional development because you think it might not apply. So it'll always apply. So a couple of things that I like to do is some this or that. This is just some of those instructional strategies that I like to kind of break up, because I don't like sitting or complete lecture the entire time. These are used for icebreakers. They can be used to introduce new material. They also can be used for break breaks. I don't know about you, but I'm a tech teacher because I don't like sitting. I'm not a cubicle person. So I have to be up and moving. So even when I'm in the classroom, I'm still up and moving, and my students are kind of the same way. So take a second, you can this or that, pick one between, talk to your table mates, which one you choose. It's a great way to kind of learn about your neighbors. So what do we necessarily have to do? It's just a great way to learn about it. So I'm an unsweet girl, so I'll get you a question. All right, sushi or burger? Sushi all day long, right? Sushi. Bagel or donut? All right. I'm a carb girl all day long, so I'll eat you more. Okay. So if I had to pick a favorite, of course, I'd probably go with the bagel. So. All right, so that was kind of my this or that. It's a great way, especially I work with food, and so it's a great way to kind of introduce food or take a break, just so that the students can get to know each other, start to talk to their neighbor, have a little bit of fun, and it kind of breaks up some of the stuff that you're doing and trying to teach, because sitting there and lecturing to them for a long period of time is not going to do well. So make sure you break it up a little bit, get a little bit of a break. Another one that I really, really like is called Triangle Truths. Has anybody seen this one before? Okay, good. So what this is I've got a triangle here. I have my students draw a triangle. Usually what I tell them is I want 5 triangle truths for chapter 1. And what it is you're going to give me 3 things that lead me to the middle. So if I tell you there's a teacher from South Tech who teaches culinary arts or just culinary arts, that middle should tell you that's me. So you can do the same thing with definitions, concepts, thinking, so that you can help remember. So when you see something on a test and you've got a couple of choices, those 3 things kind of line up. There are some that overlap, but for the most part, once you get the 3, once you finalize, and there are lots of teachers at South Tech, once you put culinary, you go, okay. So it's a great way to help study, help them read through information, help them understand, and remember things. So again, one of my kind of more favorite ones. This one is just, I want to make sure that you're paying attention and you understand the importance. So for this I just call it read along. So I will read the sentence. Please read the highlighted blue words out loud. So the first thing we do when we get into the kitchen is wash your hands. Beginning any work in the kitchen. In order to be safe and sanitary, and this includes washing them. Okay, so that's again just another way to highlight the importance of what I'm trying to reinforce to them, especially at the beginning when sometimes it's not common knowledge or secondhand knowledge to them that they need to properly wash their hands. And so we go through that a couple different ways. You can do it just to, again, throw a slide up there just to make sure that everybody's with you, they're back and focused, and understanding the concept that you're trying to get across. 4 corners. So 4 corners for me, and originally when I was setting this presentation up in my mind, for some reason, I thought I was going to be speaking to like 40 people, now 170, so I won't make you guys get up. But what Four Corners does is you go across the room. So this is the number of people that face hunger in the state of Missouri. So if you believe that number is 51, you go up there. If you believe it's the 9,000, you go there. So you point out the Four Corners. You could have them pre-labeled. You just have them taped up already. You just have numbers. Have the kids get up and vote with your feet. Like you do, just get them. So this, and it's a good way for them to get up again, just to kind of stretch their legs, stretch their minds. They're also active and being a participant in your lesson. So, and just for the sake of giving you an answer, that number is 809,680. So roughly with 170 people, or something like 24 people out of 170. There's about 24 people out of this group, number that face food insecurity. So that's one of the things that, on a side note, if we got a social worker here or anybody, that's one thing, new initiative I'm tackling this year, working with a program called Kids Feeding Kids. So my class is, we're gonna make a lot of food, freeze it, and then be able to send it home with families that need it. So that's something that we're trying to do better, because I've got all this food, I've got kids making food, rather than them taking it home, and sometimes it doesn't make it home because everybody eats it on the bus. I'd rather somebody that needs it to be able to eat it and enjoy it. So. All right, so those are a few of my kind of teaching techniques that I do, or kind of just things to break up the time. I want to talk to you a little bit about the power of belief. So believing. So what is belief? Belief is the acceptance that something exists or is true, especially without proof. So it can be personal or collective, and it ranges from religious faith to confidence in oneself. So let's review some common examples. Tooth fairy. How many of you guys believed in the tooth fairy when you were growing up? I thought some lady came and took my teeth and gave me money, and so what did that mean you had to do? You had to brush your teeth, right? The tooth fairy didn't want dirty teeth. So I'm trying to trick my 5-year-old into that whole belief too. So like, brush your teeth, so that tooth fairy is going to give you some money. So we go and brush our teeth and we do our thing. So some religions believe in Santa Claus, and we're good throughout the year. Someone's going to bring you presents. So you better watch out. There's like an elf on the shelf type thing. There's Santa Claus. There's all sorts of Saint Nick, all sorts of things that make you believe. Some superstitions. Anybody purposely walk on the ladder? You've been told that to walk on the ladder, it's bad luck, right? So you know to walk around. So if you find a penny, heads up, all day long you get good. Look, you know how many pennies that are tails that I've walked over? I probably left So I decided how many pennies I walked over that were tails up. There's no way I'm doing that. Like I already got the my favorite one. My bingo. I start back on Monday. So my school district starts back on the 5th. May I start back on Monday? So, yeah, so August is out. But I still really enjoy my job, so I don't know. So, but what keeps us going through the school year? So, what kind of things do we have? Because it's a long school year at times. Water in the Bamboos. Anybody ever heard this concept? So it's a great book. It's not one of my book recommendations, but it should be. The concept of water in the bamboo. So the bamboo farmer goes out, plants the bamboo seed, and for the first year, goes out and waters it every single day. It doesn't grow. Second year, they go out and water it every single day. Third year, every single day, it's still not growing. So the fourth year, that bamboo farmer waters and it grows, I want to say 90 feet in 60 days or 60 feet in 90 days. It grows very quickly in that fourth year. So that bamboo farmer had belief and believed that what he was doing would turn out into growing those big giant bamboo stalks, the end result that he desired. So as teachers, we have to go in and water our bamboo. We have to make sure that we understand that we're not going to see it every day. We might not even see it all year as far as the growth, but it's there. And so few and far between are the accolades and the thank yous. What really keeps you going is the belief. The belief in knowing that you're doing a good job and knowing that you're making a difference. So the bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not in the branch, but in her own wings. So always believe in yourself and what you're doing, and what you're doing is making a difference. Because there's some days that you're going to question it, and there's some days where the kids are going to show you. So it's those few and far days in between you need to remember. Here's a couple of my whys, kind of why I do what I do, and some of the things that help me believe. So these are some of my, I guess, more famous. I got lots of great kids. I said this is entering my 17th year. I refer to all of my students as my kids, so they're used to it. So Jawan, right down there on the left. He just opened Rated Test Kitchen, which is downtown. So he is also getting ready to announce a big, huge thing that I can't really talk about, but I'm super excited. Just know that I'm super excited. I'm going to meet with him on Monday. I'm going to meet with him next week. So, but he's getting ready to make another big splash in the culinary scene in St. Louis. And Juwan is great. So he's a great person. He gives back. He comes to our community, and to the school, and we'll get back to him. Nick Bachner is there in the middle. He owns and operates 2 restaurants here in St. Louis. James Beard Award finalist, semi-finalist. Always in the top for best restaurant. We were best restaurant in St. Louis.
Part of the interruption with someone from Applied Tech, please call the main office at 7602. Someone from Applied Tech, call the main office at 7602.
You can't leave this.
This is okay. He was featured in Food and Wines magazine. There's that magazine is Best in Chef a couple years ago. Again, doing really great things, but also what we try to instill in our students is give back. So they come back and they give to the next generation of culinary students. So, Chef Camille here. She owns Camille's Catering. She does a really great job with what she's doing. Same thing. She has worked
Please part of this interruption with someone from Applied Tech, please call the main office at 7602. Someone from Applied Tech, please call the main office at 7602. Thank you.
super important. All right. So Camille is great, and again, all of my students, so I try to instill the give back mentality, volunteer, and do great into the community, but it comes back to it's simple. A lot of they come, and then a lot of my students want to go work for them, so they have a readily accessible job pool. So students that are eager and want to be there. So, but they also, like I say, give them their time, their talent, and their treasure. So they donate a lot of money and product to the program and for the kids. So, some book recommendations I have for you. So if you guys, you should have gotten this, if not, they've changed since I started 17 years ago. This is like one of the very first, and some people are smiling. If you've not gotten this First Days of School book by Harry Wong, it's great. My next one is Atomic Habits. So if you've not read Atomic Habits, it talks about getting 1% better every day. So I tell that to my students that are super frustrated when they can't do a skill. I'm like, you're not here because you're the very best, you're here to learn. If we can get better 1% every day, then by the time you're done with me, I will achieve and you will achieve what we needed to achieve. So, but Atomic Habits is a really great book. So, my tips for a successful school year. Very first one. Realize now that the secretaries are the ones running the school. Good, right? I promise you, be nice to them. Feel free to bring them treats and shower them with praise. So, just letting you know now. You can go tell my secretaries I said that. You want to make sure you eat lunch with people regularly. So, staffers are doing, take time for lunch. I know a lot of people get caught up in the, I gotta get this work done. You need time for yourself. So, make sure you take time for lunch. Take your PTO, that's what it's there for. So, I unfortunately have to miss the very first day of school for my students because my daughter started kindergarten. But I wouldn't miss that for the world. So, I'll just be late to my class. They'll see me eventually. So, make sure you pack lots of snacks or become friends with the person who fills the candy dish up most. So, very, very true. So, it's those days when you're like, man, I really just need something sweet. So, know who that person is. I try not to have it be me because everybody was, I've got like, there's 90 people in my school. I've got 90 best friends because we cook. So, I don't need to add candy to it. Remember to water your bamboo. So we talked about that. And then also on top of that, water your grass. So they always say the grass is greener on the other side. They're like, oh, well, that school or this school district sounds really cool. Water your grass and make yours that way. So make your environment, your culture, your community, the people you work with. So if you're wanting that sounds desirable over there, make it yours here. So make sure to water your grass. And believe in what you're doing, and it's making an impact. So I can't tell you enough that there's gonna be days where you're wondering, but you just gotta believe. So even if that means you take a little Tic Tac every morning, and that's your little placebo pill, and that's your teacher awesome pill, just take your little Tic Tac every morning and go to work and get ready to inspire and help educate the next generation. All right, and I will leave this time open for any questions. No questions. Which restaurant? So Jawan's restaurant is rated test kitchen. And if you just remember Jawan Rice, remember that name, he's getting ready to announce a big thing here, like probably the next month. And then Nick's restaurant, one is called Indo, that's INDO, and one is called Sado. If you've ever heard of those. So, if we want to become friends, you're gonna be my friend when I go, they always love us up, so it's perfect being their teacher. They're like, oh, you're Nick's teacher? Let me just bring you on. I leave miserable. My daughter's just, Mom, you went to the restaurant for a mixed belly here? Yeah, it's that one. So, but no, seriously, enjoy the school year, enjoy what you're doing, have lots of fun, make sure you take advantage of those professional development opportunities. Again, that's where I've gotten some of my best ideas from, as far as some of the things that I'm known for. So, if you guys need to reach me, I'm over at South Tech. We run our food truck usually once a month there. We have lots of different fun activities going on. We usually have an ice cream competition. But thanks.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. So glad to have you today. We're gonna take a break now, but I need you back and ready to go at 10:10. So we'll take a quick break and be back.